All right, all right. What a nice room, what a nice room. We're winding down 4 days of celebrating our industry's distinguished history and capturing the excitement of the present moment, right? Right? Now, thank you. Now, let's wrap up OFN40 with a look at the week we just had and into the future. We talked to conference attendees over the past few days and about CDFIs and what's next. Here's what they had to say.
Three adjectives I would use to describe CDFIs would be collaborative, supportive, and promising.
I would say boundaryless, inclusive, and wonderful.
Positive, bright, and very impactful.
Promising, influential, and opportunistic.
Ready, bold, innovative, and dynamic.
Unlimited, exciting, and dynamic.
Diverse, impact, and innovation.
I would say resilient, impactful, and sustainable.
Bright, impactful, and at the same time challenging.
Bright, resilient, and expansive.
Exciting, exciting, and exciting.
I think our greatest opportunity over the next 40 years is to make cataclysmic impact in our communities by leveraging public dollars with the private sector.
Bridging the equity gap for immigrants.
To show our capacity through all the different programs that we administer.
I hope that there's more investment within the industry and then we can do things to help disadvantaged communities.
Economic parity for all people groups here in the United States.
Transforming the lives of low, moderate income individuals, and particularly BIPOC people, through the lending and investments that we're going to make.
We're seeking that kupuna wisdom so that we can carry on the legacy of OFN and CDFI work in the next generation to come.
Well, my piece of advice would be network.
Say yes to everything.
Just be humble about those people who we serve.
Plug into as many network industries as possible.
Don't be afraid to let your passion shine.
Take your time and really explore the industry.
Soak up as much information as you can and learn just about every acronym that they throw at you.
Come here, be a sponge, and learn as much as you can.
If you're new to the industry, get in where you fit in. Plug in like an avatar and make it count.
The change is happening.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. The CDFI industry has surpassed our wildest dreams.
CDFIs have helped the people that needed the help the most.
CDFIs have taken over the world.
We made it.
Impact and innovation. Okay, I got it now. I got it. Okay, innovation. Okay, let's go.
You're doing great. There's no more need for CDFIs.
We love that answer.
That headline says Lori Finnison is retired. No.
All right, CDFIs are going to take over the world, right? Yes. Yes, I'm in. Are you? So the question is, though, how do we do it? And we have three amazing rising leaders here to talk about that. I'd like to introduce you in the order, Skya Ducheneaux, Executive Director of Akiptan. Tom Simone, President and CEO of Genesis LA.
Rally crowd.
And Kimberly Lyle, CEO of Dorchester Bay Economic Development Corporation. Thank you all for being here. Thank you guys for being here on the closing plenary. We've asked the panelists to think about 3 questions, and I'm going to ask them each the question. They're going to have a chance to respond. So we'll start with the first one. Y'all, this is a discussion among young leaders. Why do you think you were chosen for this panel today? We'll start with you.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, this is out of the 3 questions we prepared, the hardest one for me to think about an answer, because I was like, well, you know, yes, I'm young, yes, I lead a CDFI, and me and my team have done all these really cool things, but as with all the reflection and all the things, I actually had the perfect answer come to me this morning, so thank goodness for that timing. But I was in a session and I had questions and I had concerns, and so I was like asking, and I was just saying what was on my mind, and wanting to make sure that the people that I represent were included, and it was all good and stuff. And then after the session, 2 people came up to me and they were like, "Thank you for saying what we're all thinking. Thank you for saying what was on our mind." And so I was like, wow, like. And so I think that, like, that unapologetic, that the lady in the video, she was like, don't be afraid to let your passion show. And I think that that's what made people pick me. And if not, maybe it's because I'm really funny. I don't know. I do tell really good jokes. So, but yeah, I think it's just, I've been empowered, and I've had really amazing mentors who have built me up, and they let me, let me shine, so.
Wonderful. Yeah, yeah. Because you speak truth to power, and you do it in a funny way. So great, good.
Thank you.
Well, I was just flattered that OFN thought I was young, so why not show up?
Right, me too.
No, you know, I think we do neighborhood lending at Genesis LA, neighborhood level projects, and we've really tried to take the perspective that when others start to do what we're doing, it's time for us to go further downstream and to do the things that people aren't doing now. And because we have that sort of DNA in us, we've gotten to do a lot of interesting investments in projects that are first movers in the space, that are really cutting edge. And I think a lot of people have seen that work, and I think in many ways that's sort of a youthful trait to have, to really always be thinking about what's next and where we can play a new and growing role. And I think a lot of people have seen that, and it's been a part of our growth and making Genesis a really important player in our market.
Thank you. Clearly always future thinking. Nice.
Yeah, I struggle with this question too. In the end, I came to the perspective that maybe I was selected because I represent my community so unabashedly, so out loud, and I'm constantly rooting for my people. I want us to win. I love them, and I bring that everywhere I go, whether it's online, whether it's in community, whether it's here at a conference like this. So I thought maybe that being not afraid to be so boastful about the people I serve might be a reason I'm here today.
Thank you. Thank you. That reflection, I hope, just notes for folks, these are traits deeply valued in our industry, certainly by OFN, and I think you all spoke very clearly to that. Thank you. All right, next question. As CDFI pioneers retire and a new generation of leaders assume more prominent roles, what shifts in leadership style and priorities do you think are needed to strengthen our CDFIs? Shall we start with you?
Yeah, so I definitely think a shift from the do as I say leadership style that many of us of a certain age might be accustomed to is necessary. That folks don't want to have their work directed to them, every aspect of their work directed to them. and they want to be more in partnership with those who lead the organizations. So I think that the ability to lead through influence, to lead through being a thought partner, and not necessarily because you're the boss, is going to be a hallmark of leaders in this kind of new direction our sector is going in.
Yeah, yeah. They want, yeah.
Yeah, I've been with Genesis from when it was really small to now being kind of small. And to see that transition, I know a lot of CDFIs are going through that now. There's been a lot more emerging CDFIs that have come onto the scene. And I think as we took that journey, and I think many others are now, always thinking about what is your niche in the space? What value are you bringing? I have a little quote on my bulletin board in the office from a community banker from the local newspaper when the banking crisis after the last Great Recession occurred. And it says something to the effect of, always differentiate yourself or you become commoditized, and that's the pathway to just being gobbled up. And I think as we grow into our own as individual CDFIs and as an industry, either finding how you are serving a niche that others aren't, or if you're doing things that others are doing, how can you partner up? And that doesn't necessarily mean merge and be gobbled up, but how can you leverage each other's resources and make 2 + 2 = 5, right? And I think that's just something we have to continually be looking at and thinking about, each and every one of us, for the good of our own organizations and the good of the sector.
Yes.
Now you feel like you have to clap for all of them. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, who's here has all seen like the videos about like millennial managers, right? Like it's a whole joke. Yes. So and then I even commented, I'm like, you can all tell we're millennial managers. We're all wearing jeans. So there's like little minor mindset shifts like that. But then I also think that we, as the next generation, are very privileged to get to change from a mindset of scarcity to abundance. You know, we were talking about that this morning, and I've been doing a lot of reflection on that, and you know, made by history for this moment. In the early days, you get to dream big, but you're like, oh my gosh, like this, like everything is scary, and you're building a foundation, and you want to build a solid foundation, not a shaky foundation, and there's only so much money, and nobody's investing in CDFIs. It was very scarcity for resources back then, but because of those past generations of leaders, we have an awesome foundation, and we've got organizations to support us, and industries and colleagues, and we're well established, and people know what CDFIs are now, and we get the privilege to shift from scarcity to abundance. And I think that that's really cool. And then also, I think like you were talking, style of leadership and being able to be a thought partner and collaborative. And I think that, in the environment of today, we really recognize that we need to have all diverse perspectives at the table, because this is not a one-size-fits-all solution. We need to get everybody in the room to think about solutions, and we've had this mindset shift to, we're all on the same team. We all want to win. We all want to succeed. So we're bringing everyone to the table because there's an abundance for everybody, and we know who our allies are and stuff. So it's as I've been thinking about this, it's just been really cool to see, back in the day and to now, and what we get to do, where we're going, and all that is very exciting. I think we're very intentional about certain things because we get to thrive. We're not just trying to survive. So we get to be very intentional about what we do and whatever movements we make and stuff. So, yeah.
Now you have to clap for her. You could start snapping too. Thank you guys, thank you. In planning for this plenary, we were thinking about 4 focus areas, and a lot of what we've talked about at the conference as well has fallen into tracks about technology, about partnership, talent development, and equity and inclusion, right? So which of these are you most excited about leaning into? And Tom, we'll start with you.
Sure. I think for us, partnerships have been a way to equity inclusion. So, as I mentioned, we do a lot of neighborhood level development, and in the communities that we're working in, even mission-related developers aren't getting the work done on the ground, just sort of by nature. And so we have found that we have to really work with nonprofits and organizations on the ground who know these communities best, but might not have the skills and experiences to bring about the projects they want to see in their neighborhood's development. And so we've rolled up our sleeves and we go and work with these folks to understand their vision and lift it up, and then start to resource them with the partners, the developers, the capital that they need to move it forward. And we have found that that is a way to really give voice to folks who normally don't have a seat at the table, and empower them to be part of the transformation of their development from the ground up. And we think that that's a really important way to make community development more inclusive.
Nice, nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Skya.
Do we get to say all of the above? I'm actually excited about all of them. The technology one, so I work in agriculture, so we've got a bunch of like grumpy old guys we work with. We still have a fax machine. It's 2024 and we still have a fax machine. So we might be a little behind on the technology one over here in agriculture, but I think they're all super excited. And one of the things is that, talent development and getting a pipeline of people coming up, because nobody goes to college and says, I'm going to graduate and work at a CDFI. It's right. Doctors, lawyers, bankers, and we need all them, maybe a little less bankers, but we need all them in this world, right? But like, I want people to be like, I'm going to college and then I'm going to work for a CDFI. Like, I want us to have that constant pipeline. I don't want to be out here like trying to find enough staff and be like, please work for me. Like, I need to find somebody. I need this position filled. Like, I want to be able to have that, because the more people we get coming to work for us, like the better capacity that we have as an organization to serve our people, the better we get to grow and deepen our impact, broaden our impact. And so that's been something that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm a part of a Native CDFI coalition, and we got a big EDA Build Back Better grant, and there's 5 project areas. And one of those project areas we're specifically focusing on is capacity building, talent development, whatever you want to call it. And we're getting really creative about how we do that. So we're thinking that like us as CDFI employees, like we're gonna go approach our tribal colleges and say like, can I be a guest lecturer for a day? Like, let me get in front of the youth. We always have 1 or 2 interns hanging around our office and stuff like that. We have a very intentional youth programming, and I want people to want to work for CDFIs. I want it to be a very obvious choice for them. I didn't know that I wanted to work for a Native CDFI. I just kind of fell into it, ass backwards, and I was like, total transparency, I just needed a job, and they needed someone to start Akiptan. So I was like, okay, cool, what's a CDFI? Like, I'm down. And I'm so happy that I was so lucky to have that happen, but I want people to be able to see like the power that CDFIs have in their communities, and I want them to be like, I want to work there, I want to do that, I want to make that impact. And I want to have that level of visibility and like prominence in the employee market.
Yeah. You just made me think of something. We were at the Women's Network breakfast earlier this week, and one of the ladies in the room talked about the generational next of she is an outgoing CEO and her daughter was going to be CEO. And then another one raised her hand and said, I work in a CDFI and now my daughter's elected to work in a CDFI. We have someone on our team who's next generation within the industry. Her parent was already in the industry and she decided to step into it. And hopefully, we were talking about our young kids back, your daughter's following you everywhere. She knows you're going to conferences. She's thinking she's going to be the next, right?
Oh God, if she grows up the way I think she is, like we're all in trouble if she runs a CDFI. all in the best way though, good trouble. Good trouble. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah.
Go ahead, Kim.
I would say talent development, and especially with an emphasis on leadership. You know, like this work is hard, it's rewarding, but it's very challenging, and it takes grit, it takes endurance, it takes being open to failure, being willing to experiment, and those are skills that I think we need to be successful in this work. And so I've been thinking about not just the technical aspects of the work, but how do we develop people who can do this work over the long term, right? Because that's the only way we're gonna make the impact we're trying to make, is if we can keep the momentum. So I would definitely say that talent development, but not only this emphasis on the technical skills, but these other skills that are very critical. And I'll just add that I think that's gonna be especially important as technology continues to evolve as rapidly as it is. There's a lot of work that we're doing that can be automated, that will be automated. And so then what is the real work? It's in the complex stuff, it's in the relational stuff. And so I think developing talent, developing leaders who are up for those challenges is really what I'm focused on.
We have a little extra time. I've put my script down. I'm gonna ask him a few off-the-cuff questions. So to that point, Kim, and I'm gonna start with you, because this is about you all on this panel, how do you keep yourself healthy? You know, how do you retain your healthy space? And we were talking about talent development and that balance. How do you do it? I'm gonna ask all of you the same thing.
The truth is, I don't know. That's the truth. That's the reality. I got a personal trainer. I go to him 3 times a week. That's about the only thing. That's actually something that I am trying to practice more of, because this work is hard. It is intense. It takes a toll. And I wish I had a different answer. I wish I could tell you I had a monthly massage scheduled, or, you know, some amazing wellness practice. But the truth is,
you just said you have a trainer. How's that not a...
Listen, that's the best thing I did. That's the only thing that keeps me moving. But it really is, it is something that I want to give more attention to.
I think you already are. You already are. Good. Who wants to go next?
Tom can go. Sure. I don't think I do it well, but I make sure I hike to the Griffith Observatory every weekend, and a glass of wine every night.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that.
Is the wine a want or a need?
Both.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm really telling on myself. I have an emergency 6-pack of beer in my office for emergencies.
There you go.
For emergencies. And then my daughter, I had her at work with, I'm really telling on myself, oh my God. I had my daughter at work with me.
We went from trainer to one glass of wine to an emergency 6-pack.
Yes.
All right, okay.
That's how I take care of myself, Sarah. My daughter knows that that's Mom's cup, and I was on a Zoom one day, and she was at work with me, and she comes around the corner of my desk, Mom's cup, Mom's cup. And I was talking, and I was like, oh my gosh, so I need to find better ways. But so I wasn't really good at this for a long time, and then a few years ago, because I had never used my leave, and my board was on my ass about using my leave, and I'm like, leave just kind of feels like a luxury. There's things to do, and I was a staff of 2 at the time, and I'm like, how am I not supposed to be here? So what I started doing was, the summer is our slower time, and so I started taking 1 week off a month in the summer, so May, June, July, August, and I just sit at home, and I garden, I go out help Trevor on the ranch more, or I just do nothing. I drop my kid off at daycare and I'm like, see you later. But I just sit at home and I get to do what I enjoy and I love. And this year in May, when I took my first week off, I got a little tile and grout scrubber and I scrubbed my floors like a maniac. But it made me so happy. And so I started doing that, and then and that's been really great. And then the biggest challenge for me to step away and take a break was when I went on maternity leave, because that Akiptan is my baby. That was my first child, and then I had my baby, Casey. And so I was like, how do I so it was really hard. And I had a 10-week maternity leave, and it took me 8 weeks to get good at being on maternity leave. But one of the things that I kept, I turned all my work notifications off, like the little focus modes on your iPhones. I don't know if the other guys have that, but one of the things that I kept was at 4 p.m. my work notifications turn off, and they do not come back on my phone until 8 a.m. the next day. And you know, my work day doesn't always end at 4, so it's closer to 5, whatever. But when I'm home and I'm present. You know, I'm gone on travel enough, and my work consumes my day. So like when I'm at home, I'm gonna make sure to fill my cup with the stuff that makes me happy, and I'm not gonna be bothered by those work texts, because what am I gonna do at 6:30 at night to solve anybody's problem anyways? Like what? Nothing really, you know, and the work will be there in the morning. So that was one thing that I learned on maternity leave that I kept in the last 2 years is like my phone goes on focus mode and I'm not seeing your emails. And all my staff know that my very clear boundary around that is you know, if you need something and it's time sensitive, text me, but if you abuse that power, like I will mute your text too. Like but it's about being able to set those boundaries. You can't pour from an empty cup. Like if you're not at your best, you can't lead your organization the best. And so I've had to get better at it and stuff. So it's been a journey, but yeah.
Well, we talk about it. Yeah, all right. We talk about it at our organization as well from the management team as you want to set an example. What does it look like to pause? What does it look like to stop? There's huge value. There's lots of study in how much better you think, how much more clearly you think when you pause and when you're not constantly on and thinking and being. And you know, if you need to do that, however you need to do that, whether it be exercise, whether it be vegging out, whether it be cleaning your floors, whatever it is, hopefully folks take some time. Because I was speaking, as many of you hopefully did, a value of this conference was not only the sessions and the plenaries, but the moments, the quick or longer moments you had in the hallways. And I was having one of those earlier, and we were talking about, you know, possibly the issue isn't attraction to the industry. We have a lot of folks who really want to think about impact, who really, right out of college, and we're raising children and communities who want to do this. It's retention. You know, you've been trying to, maybe you're working too much, maybe you've got too many hats you're wearing. So what can we do as leaders in our communities, in our organizations, to make sure that folks feel like they've got capacity to stay and a pathway to stay, not maybe at your organization, but know that there's opportunities elsewhere. All right, just last question for you all. Amazing conference, 40th year. Any favorite moments, anything that stick out to you?
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. No, so I think that what really stuck out for me in knowing that I was going through this campaign rush or whatever you want to call it these last few days have been, was like getting out there and actually like getting to meet the rest of the industry. So like I run a native CDFI, we have our own group and I know mostly everyone in there, but I don't get to connect with CDFIs outside Indian country or like the few that do agriculture. I don't get to connect with them very much because my lane is so focused in one area. So it was really cool to get out and learn about like all the successes and the wins that other CDFIs were doing. Yesterday during one of the networking sessions, I got a visit with a guy and he works for a CDFI that just does like disability financing and making sure that homes are accessible for different disabilities and things like that. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. Like you are solving so many problems and you're like, it's so intentional and stuff like that I would have never even thought about. I was just so amazed with getting to like meet everybody and hearing like what they do and their stories and that was my favorite part was like while I was campaigning for a seat, but I got to visit and learn and hear and make connections and stuff like that. So that was definitely my favorite part. And I probably wouldn't have got to do that if I hadn't been nominated for the board. So yeah, that was my favorite.
Congratulations again, one of our new board members, yes.
Well, we had a pretty killer party last night on the skyscraper rooftop, so.
Thank you for the invite. Wow.
You were celebrating your win.
Just kidding.
I mean, the people connections, which I think are rarer and rarer in the society we live in today, are just so great. And I think this conference does that better than any other that I attend in a year. And I thought that video was really something special. And I loved the quote, just say yes to everything. I think that's what makes this sector, this space so cool, is that we're always trying to find, how do we get to yes? It's like, no is not an option. How do we get to yes? And just always keep that front of mind. And that just gives me so much drive every day I wake up.
And that's from one of our elders, Cliff Rosenthal.
Yeah. So that lives through the generations.
That's right. That's right.
It's like a prerequisite to working in the CDFI industry.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it is.
No is not in your vocabulary.
It needs to be.
Sometimes when we're...
There you go.
For real. I've had a few magical moments during this conference. Like, so not one big grand one, but a lot of one-on-one conversations with folks that maybe I know in passing, because you come to conferences every year, but then we got to deepen our connection and have just more open conversations about the work we're doing, about our lives. And so that was pretty special. Because I feel like I come to conferences, you meet tons of people, you don't always get to deepen each of those relationships. Right. So it was really nice to be able to do that with quite a few folks this year.
Mm-hmm. I hope you all we're going to give you back a little bit of time, I think, but when you take a moment, for those of you who've come with your big teams or your teams, to your point, take a moment to really enjoy being in this space together. And if they've already left or if members of your team aren't here, to take a moment to reflect the excitement you had here. You may not be able to pass on every single learning, but hopefully you take the enthusiasm. This is my 10th or 11th conference. The first time I went back from OFN, I was the only representative from our organization. And I went back super jazzed, super excited, but also extremely overwhelmed. And since then, I've learned, I haven't lost my voice at this conference. Usually I do. That's already an accomplishment. But I've learned that you need to pace yourself and you need to appreciate the moments you have had and to give yourself a moment to reflect. It doesn't have to be that exact thing that you learned and that exact person you have to speak to, but hopefully the energy you felt in those magical moments. So thank you, panelists. Thank you so much for your work, for all the time that you've spent. Thank you all for sticking around. We still have a little bit more, and thank you.
Thank you.